Well, I hope you enjoyed the story about the gnats squashing so long. Now I'd like to share a song with you. This is going back to the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, and this is a song from my first book, Ballads and Tales of the Woods. The gnat story came from Critters, Woods, and Water, my second book of songs and stories. But this little song I'd like to share with you was I wrote back when I think I was in that one-room schoolhouse and still going down to Falcons Creek where I had a little spot. And so, I don't know, I just came up with this little tune one day. It's called Toad in the Treehouse, and it goes like this. Once there was a big old toad who lived up in a tree. Once there was a big old toad, he lived up there with me. He was big and I was small. He was short and I was tall. He was the nicest of them all. We lived up there, you see. Rabbits, squirrels, and red-tailed fox, mosses clinging to the rocks, chiggers hiding in my socks. We lived up there, you see. Valleys, gorges, mountain streams with pretty wildflowers in between the cracks in the rocks and the deadwood trees. What a lovely place to see. And every day about sundown we climbed from the tree. When we got down, we got on our feet and danced around. What a lovely place to be. I wish you were there with me. I really do. I'd like to share another little song with you. This is a snap-along song that you can share with me. And I wrote this song back in the Ozark Mountains. I was living on Falcons Creek. I was actually staying in a neighbor's cabin, and where I was writing and stories and making up songs and walking around, being outdoors, and things always would catch my attention. Like there were birds, and I would see actually I saw a snake on the road one morning on this little lane, and it had a frog in its mouth, but not much of the frog. It just started to eat the frog, so I kind of felt bad for the frog and felt bad for the snake. But anyway, I just pulled that little frog out, and it hopped off actually, and the snake crawled away. And at the same time, it was going into fall, and I think a bear didn't realize that I had moved into this cabin late one night. I heard this noise. I got up and I looked out the door, and there's this big old bear trying to get the door open. Of course, I'm shoo, hey, get out of here. Well, the bear took off. But anyway, I decided to write this little song. It's called To Say Hello, and you can share the chorus with me. It goes like this. Dee da dee da dee da dum da 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 dee da dee da dee da dum da da. All right, I'll sing the verses and we can share the chorus. It's To Say Hello. We'll start with the chorus first. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Dee da dee da dee da dum da da. Da dee da dee da dee da dum da da. Early one morning I woke to see a Carolina wren winking in at me. I got up to say hello. The wren flew off. I saw her go. Dee da dee da dee da dum da 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 dee da dee da dee da dum da da. A big mushroom rose from the ground. A brown toadstool was nice and round. I walked over to say hello. The mushroom bowed. I know it's so. Dee da dee da dee da dum da 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 dee da dee da dee da dum da da. A frog was caught in a little snake's mouth. almost half eaten from north to south. I pulled the frog out nice and slow. The snake crawled off. I saw her go. You sing. Dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dum, da-da, da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dum, da-da. Late one night I dreamed no more. A big old bear banged at my door. I got up to say hello, but I locked the door. I know it's so. Dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dum, da-da, da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dum, da-da. Thank you. I'd like to close my session with you today, and I hope you enjoyed the story and the songs. And of course, as you know by now, as a storyteller of the ancient tradition, I have to close with a magic trick. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the trick that I would like to share with you, the magic, the ancient magic that I would like to share with you this morning is something that you will never see again in your entire life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the reason why that we are on this planet and we don't go flying off into space along with the plants and the flowers and the guitar and everything else is because of that phenomenon that you and I know is called gravity. That's, ladies and gentlemen, what keeps everything on this planet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have learned to defy gravity. Rick Rogers, storyteller, author, magician, the only man in the world who can perform this magic of defying gravity. So watch carefully, ladies and gentlemen. We know if we take an object and we let it go, it's going to fall in only one direction, which is down. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to defy gravity before your very eyes. Please note that in my hands I have two, as Mother Earth magazine would call, solar dryers, also known as clothespins. But ladies and gentlemen, by using the awesome powers of magic, I'm going to defy gravity by suspending these two solar dryers, these two clothespins, in space, right in front of your eyes without the use of my hands. First, ladies and gentlemen, please note that there are no strings, there is no wire, there's no trapdoor, there's nothing in my hands, there's nothing up my sleeve, and there's nothing up my pant leg. So now watch carefully, ladies and gentlemen. Rick Rogers, storyteller, author, magician, is going to defy gravity. I'm going to turn around, and when I turn back around, these two clothespins, these two solar dryers, are going to be suspended in mid-air without the use of my hands before your very eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll never see this again. Watch carefully. 1, 2, 3! Magic!